All right, ladies and gentlemen, we continue. More excitement to come. And in the coming decade, travel and tourism is projected to grow at an average annual rate of 5.8%, more than double the 2.7 average percent annual growth estimations for the overall economy. Now, taking away the learning of this two-day program and with this exciting vision of traveling for a better future, let's now focus on ambitious investments and partnerships required to build a more resilient, inclusive and sustainable sector. And for that, please welcome once again the BBC's Zeinab Badawi to the stage and her panel. Welcome to all of you.
Work. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Maria. Assalamu alaikum, sabah al khair. I'm Zeinab al Badawi in Arabic, or Zeinab Badawi. My pleasure to be moderating this session with this wonderful panel I have behind me. The Minister of Spain just said to me now that there are more women than men on the panel. That's the new Saudi Arabia. So, anyway, I'm not going to talk for very long, but just to set the scene, we're going to be talking about travelling for a better future. You know, the WTTC provide us with all these wonderful statistics, and one that we're going to be discussing is the fact that, of course, the tourism sector in the coming decade, travel and tourism, is expected to create 126 million new jobs, and also it's going to grow at an annual average rate of nearly 6%, which is nearly twice as much as the overall economy. But we want to make sure that that expanding world of travel and tourism is going to be done in a way which creates a better future for all of us, travellers and also the host people. So we're going to be looking at the issues of how do we get better investment, how do we achieve our sustainability goals so that we have a resilient, inclusive and sustainable travel and tourism sector. Without further ado, I'm going to talk to my wonderful panel on my right here. I'll introduce them as I come and speak to all of them. Lindiwe Sisulu. Lindiwe, you are South African political aristocracy, the daughter of the great Walter Sisulu, of course, who was so instrumental in bringing South Africa to independence. And you yourself have been quite a force also in the nation. You have held many posts in government, Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Defence, Minister of International Relations, and now you occupy the portfolio of Minister of Tourism, which you assumed earlier this year. Yeah. You've launched this new campaign in South Africa, which is Live Again. I think that the South African economy depends for about 6% of its GDP on tourism. Yeah. I'm going to ask all of my panel just very quickly to set the scene so our audience know what you are doing in your country. So, Minister, your time starts now. Just give us a quick overview of your vision.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. Good afternoon now. We are gearing ourselves up after COVID, and as you know, we were the hardest hit out of this pandemic. And we are preparing ourselves now to make sure that we have a sustainable industry. And we have launched several programs. One of them is Live Again, because when we were in lockdown under COVID, we were affected very badly. So we've begun to live again, and we want to ensure that we have sustainability so that should we have another pandemic, we're ready for it. We've learned from where we've come from, and we would like to make sure that in future we don't suffer the backlash that we've suffered right now. But beyond that, we are making sure that we are in touch with our neighbors, and hopefully soon we'll have a single entry visa for most of our countries around us. Okay. Ease of travel is, of course, very important, and we are partnering with various other countries to increase our airlift. I could go on and on and on.
Okay, well, you'll have a chance. You'll have a second bite at the cherry. But thank you for that opening remark. Thank you. On my left is the Minister of Tourism, Trade and Industry and Tourism for Spain, Reyes Maroto. And just by the way, Reyes is going to be speaking in Spanish, so please do reach for your translations. Unfortunately, I don't speak Spanish, Minister, but she does understand English, so she won't need to wear them. You've been Minister of Tourism and Travel and Trade and Industry since 2018, and we know that Spain is one of the most popular destinations for tourists. I think it accounts for about 12% of your GDP. But again, you've obviously suffered a little bit during COVID, but just give us an idea of how you want to build your vision for tourism, because you've got this 2030 strategy, which has got 3 pillars. Just very quickly articulate those pillars for us, Minister.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, felicidades.
Congratulations to all the organizers for bringing us all together yet one more year to talk about tourism at a global level. Spain is certainly a global destination, but of course the pandemic affected us and made us rethink the way we saw tourism, and we understood that coming out of the pandemic we needed a different approach. We are using a quality approach that makes us face the challenges such as digitalization, inclusion and climate change. We want to attract women and the youth to the tourism sector. Obviously, tourism for us is an impulse for the modernization of our country. So we are very focused on quality because we do believe that is the future for us and at a global level as well.
I don't speak Spanish, and unfortunately this did not register in English, but I thank you very much indeed for your opening comments. All the same, Minister. Let me come to you, Qusai Al-Fakhri. You are the CEO of the Saudi Tourism Development Fund, and you have, as we heard a little bit earlier, this great vision to ensure that you attract lots more visitors to Saudi Arabia. I believe the goal is about 10 million per annum. You want to also increase tourism to 10% of GDP. It's currently at about 3%. So just very quickly, set the scene for us. How are you going to do that? Or what do you want to do, actually?
Absolutely. Welcome to Arabia. We're very happy to host you in Saudi Arabia again, and welcome for whoever here for the first time. When the government approved the National Tourism Strategy, part of it was creating the Tourism Development Fund. This is a clear evidence by the Saudi government to show the commitment for the private sector. We are here today as TDF, and we are one of the sponsors of this great event to show commitment for the private sector, for international operators, international investors, and local to team up together to build and enhance the offering in the country. This is our second operational year, and since inception, we've been doing great. We've built a great track record. Since inception, we have committed almost 7 billion riyal on our second operational year. If you take the project size that we're talking about almost 28 billion riyal only on the second operational year. We've been working with who's who globally in adventure, entertainment, hospitality to enhance and to bring the right offering. What we're trying to do is to leverage on what we have in terms of assets, heritage, the great culture and great welcoming people, in addition to focusing on SMEs. And I think this subject was discussed several times before, helping entrepreneurs and SMEs to expand the offering and to focus on authenticity, also helping people like my colleague here and others to bring the right offering to the market.
Thank you very much indeed, Qusai. Thank you for those opening remarks. Let me go to Pansy now. He's Group Executive Chairman and MD of Shun Holdings Limited, which was established back in 1962. So actually you're celebrating your 60th birthday in a way, but you actually were listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange in 1972. And you've got this vast portfolio of real estate and infrastructure and travel and hospitality sector, and you do just about everything possible in the private sector. So just give us an idea of how you see this issue of traveling better in the future from the private sector's point of view.
Okay, so
I'm here to share my direct and personal experience. I work in my family, founded now a listed company in Hong Kong and also a small conglomerate that was established some 60 years ago by my father. And it was done because at that time, Macau was still under the Portuguese rule and needed desperately to have a, pillar industry, and they have chosen therefore to utilize gambling or gaming, developing out casinos. And my father won a monopoly license, and we had since then been a critical factor in helping to grow out the whole economic fabric and also, of course, our own business. Now it's on to our second generation, and I'm taking over and running this small conglomerate business now into a bigger tourism-led investment company that is starting to help innovate and also kind of transform Macau into a more holistic tourism destination. In a way, my job is not unlike, some of our ministers' excellencies on stage in a way, because I would have to be working very closely in collaboration with the government in crafting public-private partnerships. So already over 30-some years of my own direct experience, it was helping to grow international points of promotion abroad for Macau. It was investing to the effect of some over 5 billion now, 5 billion in US dollars terms, and also making sure that we are going to be engaging the community, and then we are building the whole infrastructure from the transportation linking Hong Kong, Macau, and the different airports in the Pearl River Delta now to going on the bridge, the super bridge linking Hong Kong, Macau, and Qusai, to developing out all the non-gaming sectors, including MICE, arts and culture, entertainment and sports tourism, and of course building the hardwares in terms of the facilities, the hotels, the resorts, and the casinos. And the next phase is going into another decade of new growth.
We'll ask you about the next phase. It's just setting the scene at the moment. Thank you very much indeed, Tansy. Federico Gonzalez, you are CEO of the Group CEO of the Radisson Hotel. Just some brief opening comments about how you are really very much pursuing a sustainable agenda in your group.
Yes, thank you everybody. Congratulations to you all and to the WTTC for this fantastic event. Radisson is trying actually to become one of the top 3 brands in the world. Okay, today I'm very happy to be here with some of the destinations. We are strong in Saudi, but we can become stronger. We are strong in South Africa, a country where we started many years ago, where we have great hotels, and we recently entered Spain, but we have now 9 hotels and hopefully many more in the future. I think, beyond sustainability, I think in order to become one of those top 3 hotel companies in the world, we need to make sure we have the right brands, that we have the right partnership with every single destination. That means every single destination we need to work together to make things work. And then, as we will talk later on sustainability, it's critical that we start moving and making steps in the next 2-3 years. We are all fully aligned, but we'll talk later on the end vision. But before the 50, I may not be here in 50, so we need to make sure that we make concrete things that we can talk later during the next 1, 2, and 3 years. That will make us.
Why won't you be here in 2050? We're all going to be here in 2050. I intend to live forever. Thank you, Federico. Lindiwe, Sisulu. So you heard what Tansy said about the role of governments, in a sense, that they have to create an enabling environment for the travel and tourism sector to flourish. So obviously, as a government voice, how do governments go about doing that in ensuring that there's a proper regulatory framework for investment, that you have effective private-public partnerships, and also, of course, the important role of the government in ensuring that the infrastructure is there, which is proven quite a challenge, I'm sorry to say, in South Africa at the moment.
It is proving to be quite a problem for the whole of Southern Africa. We've spent a lot of time trying to work out how we can attract people to South Africa, especially investors, by assuring them about the political stability that we have, assuring them about the infrastructure that we're putting in place, availability of flights, and all of those things that would make them eager to come and invest in our own country. We've taken note of the fact that we need to do something about ease of travel, which means that our visa regime has to be stepped up. We are offering a healthier visa regime than we've had. We are working together with our neighbors to make sure that there is a possibility of making sure that the Southern African travel regime is in concert with our own policies. We assure them that we are a much safer place than they might have imagined a few years ago. We are working on creating a climate and an environment that is safe. We've just come out of Omicron, and I know you don't want to go there, but we've learned a lot from being isolated, and we've worked very hard to ensure that the environment is friendly, and the visa regime is, manageable, and the political situation very good.
Yeah, you've got to get people into the country, of course, yeah.
And we're the friendliest country in the world, by the way.
You are a very friendly country. I'm a great admirer of your country. Minister Reyes Maroto, so you are part of the governing socialist coalition in Spain. And so I want to ask you in particular, because when we talk about developing tourism, we must ensure that there is an equitable distribution of the profits of the travel and tourism sector. That's one point I want you to look at very briefly. But also, I talked about the creation of new jobs in the travel and tourism sector. But you know, there are lots of vacancies at the moment. A lot of people don't want to take up the jobs, and you've got to ensure that you match the skills of the people in the community to the jobs that are needed for the tourism sector to flourish. So the future of technologies is very, very important in this regard. I've given you so many questions there, but since you're answering in Spanish, by the way, the translation is on channel 1. Please answer those. Thank you.
Yes, obviously there is a key element in our tourism policies that needs to be developed with the help of the government and the collaboration of the private sectors. This is the way we manage to attract the best talent to the tourism sector. I think the main key element is our reputation. We need to reinforce the reputation the sector has, so the youth and women feel attracted to become a part of the labor force of the tourism sector and find tourism as an option for their project, for their lives. This depends a lot on the work that companies and politicians put together to reinforce, as I was saying, this reputation. Another second key element is the professionalism that we enable our workers to have. This is the training they receive, aligning academic backgrounds and university programs with private sector and companies. We have several projects. We need to have the companies have the best qualifications in terms of digitalization. This is also very important for our sector. This is developing very quickly. We talk about 4.0 tourism, which we believe this kind of technology needs to be available for our sector professionals to be able to offer the best experience possible. Our sector, tourism, is the industry of happiness, but of course our workforce are fundamental for the experience our visitors have. So this must be a political priority, and this is a main part of our development agenda towards the Vision 2030 Spain has for tourism, and I believe both private and public sectors need to find the answers to these challenges of professionalization and reputation, so tourism has access to the best talent and professionals in the market.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister, for those very interesting comments. Thank you. Qusai Fakhri, let me just come to you, because we talked about the need for investment. You've got to get the right investment. How do you unlock it?
Great. So let me just please go back to Her Excellency point on training and jobs. So one of the main aim of having and focusing on tourism is to create jobs and GDP. The Saudi government has committed $100 million to train every year 100,000 Saudis. This is really important. The other point is 60% of Saudis are below 35, and therefore by nature they are digital native. So this is a great opportunity for us to focus and to be digital driven. Back to your question on investment. So we already have identified the gaps in each destination within Saudi Arabia. We're working very closely with our partners, private sector, and with the ecosystem and larger ecosystem within the government to fill up whatever is missing in each gap, in each destination. And therefore, so it's a backwards process. We use the gaps and then we fill it up with, be it hospitality, entertainment, adventure, and so on. Also, we're very keen on the supply chain. We're very keen on the services. So one of the initiatives for the coming years is to enhance the offering onto transportation from tech perspective as well. So everything we're trying to do is sustainability, ESG, and high tech. And again, this will be discussed with our partners, how to implement and to some extent agree, as my colleague mentioned, to agree on the standard of sustainability, standard of to what extent we want to go tech in each property or in each service.
Right, thank you very much indeed. I don't know if your audio is working. It may be something that the sound people wish to address. Did you hear what Qusai said? Not very clearly. Okay, fine. I heard you. Let me come to you, Federico, because when we talk about the travel and tourism sector from the hotel's point of view, you've got quite a few people you've got to think about. You've got to think of your customer experience and how you achieve all your goals that you set out in the beginning. You've got to think about your staff and whether they've got the right skills and so on. You've got to think about the environment in which you operate, the country in which you operate. So really, how do you balance all those factors and unite them so that you meet your ambitious goals on the environment, sustainability?
Yes, thanks for the question. I think there are three things. One is you need to have clear vision from a corporate point of view and be able then to adapt it to each of the single destinations. Like, for example, we always say it's important to have a good partnership with the public sector. That is a generic statement, requires investment, requirement time. Now we need to make it concrete. It's different in Saudi, in Spain, in South Africa. That collaboration needs to be different. And I think the beauty and the challenge in all those collaborations is to be concrete. You know, I think we expect from the governments to put infrastructure to enable, the investments that we need to make, but then we need to make life easy. You know, I think one of the biggest nightmares that any hotel operator now happens is how many permits you need to pass to open a hotel. Nearly in any country of the world, is the amount of people that want to add value to any single authority or authorization of a hotel is a nightmare. But we try to work with every single authority to do it. I think second is, for example, when you talk about sustainability. We do it via, for example, partnership with the Alliance or with WTTC to make sure that we have a global vision, a global standard that then we need to apply into each concrete sector. For example, WTTC, and supported by many hotel companies, launched the Hotel Sustainability Basics. Now we need to work in concrete terms on how do we make it Saudi apply them, Spain apply them, or South Africa implemented. And then the last one that I think is very important is people. We have a very clear philosophy for people, but I think at the same time, the industry in general will need to become more flexible and more generous. We just opened, for example, in Morocco 1 month ago, one nursery in one of the hotels. And it was critical to make sure that people would be able to have enough flexibility to work in the hotel during long hours. I think those kind of examples will be needed to make sure that the hotel career, that is a fantastic career where you can grow a lot, but we need to enable and support the people to be able to still have a life together with that.
Thank you very much indeed. Tansy Ho, you said in your opening remarks, you talked about the need for effective public-private partnerships to achieve your goals. I just wondered if you could tell us from your perspective what you are doing in that regard and just, what is important to make sure that these are effective. Just a quick example.
Very quick, yes. Indeed, I like what was being said earlier about generosity, about caring, and that's exactly what a tourism enterprise needs to think long, ahead before you even enter into this industry sector, in my opinion. Tourism is a long-term investment. This is not the type of investment you go in, you buy, and you sell. Well, of course, there are people doing that, but in my practical and direct experience, we have been with Macau for 60 years. We even invest in Portugal, also in hospitality and gaming for 30 years, just having our concession renewed, you know, very happily. So the importance is to really build up, basically this being your base. It is where you go and where you work together with the public sector especially is a long-term relationship. And you want to nurture it, you want to continue and take a self-initiative that this is not going to be a regulatory concept, this is a partnership concept, and you want to define exactly what are common goals. And we are the people who will be directly putting together our campaign, also for the staffs, for instance, to participate so that the CSR is not done as a charity, but rather as really being building out part of the whole community engagement and interaction.
Great, got it. Okay, thanks. Well, we are almost out of time, so I am going to ask all of you to very quickly just give us your button-up takeaway message for this fine audience you can see before you. We've had a lot of discussions these last 2 days. So, Minister Reyes Maroto from Spain, just what do you think we should all take away from the discussions that we've had? What's the most important aspect for you?
Well, I would leave two messages. The first one is very closely related to this very panel. We need to invest in our future and in the future of our industry, and I believe it is a safe investment. This environment of stability in our business that we need to offer from our policies is crucial for it to become one of the elements in the future talks. The second one is obviously the fact that tourism pushes economies forward. When the pandemic situation arose, the global economy stopped. So I do believe that tourism is something that will push for modernization, and that thanks to the pandemic, we were able to reassess the value that tourism has with respect to the global economy. We need to make tourism a political priority and a priority for the youth and women.
Muchas gracias. That's the extent of my Spanish. Thank you. Fakhri, Mr. Fakhri, Qusai al-Fakhri from the Tourism Development Fund, Saudi Arabia, your takeaway message, please.
I will put it as a recommendation. I would invite every single investor globally to seize the opportunity and to capture the opportunities that we are offering as we speak in the country. I'm afraid it will be too late for some investors who are lagging behind to capture the potential that we are offering. Thank you.
God, that was quick. Thank you so much. Yeah, great. Federico Gonzalez from the Radisson Hotel Group.
Yes, I would build on what you have just said. Is I think the opportunity in this country is amazing. It's phenomenal. I would invite any other destinations to have the same level of ambition. And I take the invitation. We need to sit down now and work on the execution for the next 2 years, make it concrete so we can show to the world what can happen.
Very
quickly.
nice. And I've stayed in your hotels. Very nice indeed. Perhaps you'll upgrade me to a suite next time.
I will.
Fine, thank you. Pansy from Shun Holdings Limited, very quickly.
We think that the tourism industry is the peace industry. So this is the one industry that should not be contentious, you know, and we have to bring all the stakeholders together working harmoniously using our own shared resources. The planet belongs to all of us, and you know, we have the duty, we have the obligation to preserving it, to protecting it, our culture and also our nature. And that is how we can build this industry together, but also then make the planet a beautiful place.
Lindiwe, Sisulu, you opened, you closed.
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to thank everybody for their contribution, and we have very good working relations with Radisson, and we're hoping to have good relations with you. We reside in South Africa, a beautiful country. We want to invite all of you, investors in all airlines, to come to South Africa so that we can show the world there are beautiful parts of the world. And I'd like to say in closing, I know you're very edgy about this, that we've got to be very careful about these great disruptors such as we had in Omicron, that we should set up stations where we can actually monitor and be able to advise our tourists where to travel to and what the situation is, because we felt particularly let down by the world when we were blamed for Omicron. And we are still unhappy about that.
Sure,
I think that there needs to be communication on matters of this nature so that we don't suffer the downside of something that is actually a national, international problem.
I know you felt very strongly about that in South Africa. Let us hope that is all behind you. Thank you very much indeed to my panel. Certainly we had common goals, common objectives, and I think the power of tourism has been very amply demonstrated by all my panel. Thank you to all of you for your attention. From me, goodbye. Thank you. Do you want to shake hands?
Congratulations.